dans le parterre des impures. Simplex sigillum veri. Naught is there under heaven's wide hollowness that moves more dear, compassion of the mind, than beauty brought tea, unworthy wretchedness. If ever there was a fellow formed by nature to captivate and conquer the heart of lovely woman, it is that arch-looking, light-hearted Apollo, Horace Eglantine, with his soul-enlivening conversational talents, his scraps of poetry and puns and fashionable anecdote, his chivalrous form and noble carriage, joined to a mirth-inspiring countenance and soft, languishing blue eye, which sets half the delicate bosoms that surround him palpitating between hope and fear. Then a glance at his well-shaped leg, or the fascination of an elegant compliment, smilingly overleaping a pearly fence of more than usual whiteness and regularity, fixes the fair one's doom. While the young rogue, triumphing in his success, turns on his heel and plays off another battery on the next pretty susceptible piece of enchanting simplicity that accident may throw into his way. Who is that attractive star before whose influential light he at present seems to bow with adoration? A fallen one, said Crony, to whom the question was addressed, as he rode up the drive in Hyde Park towards Cumberland Gate, accompanied by Bernard Blackmantle. A fallen one, reiterated the Oxonian impossible. Why, I have marked the fair daughter of fashion myself for the last fortnight constantly in the drive, with one of the most superb ~13 equipages among the ton of the day. True, responded Crony, and might have done so for any time these 3 years. In London, these daughters of pleasure are like physicians traveling about to destroy in all sorts of ways, some on foot, others on horseback, and the more finished lolling in their carriages, ogling and attracting by the witchery of bright eyes. The latter may, however, very easily be known by the usual absence of all armorial bearings upon the panel. The chariot elegant and in the newest fashion, generally dark-colored, and lined with crimson to cast a rich glow upon the occupant, and the servants in plain frock liveries, with a cockade, of course, to imply their mistresses have seen service. I know but of one who sports any heraldic ornament, and that is the female Giovanni, who has the very appropriate crest of a serpent coiled, and preparing to spring upon its prey, à la Cavendish. The elegante in the dark vis, to whom our friend Horace is paying court, is the cidevant Lady Rose B.Y., otherwise Clara W. By the peer she has a son, and from the plebeian a pension of £200 per annum. Her origin, like most of the frail sisterhood, is very obscure, but Clara certainly possesses talents of the first order, and evinces a generosity of disposition to her sisters and family that is deserving of commendation. In person, she is plump and well-shaped, but of short stature, with a fine dark eye and raven locks that give considerable effect to an otherwise interesting countenance. A few years since she had a penchant for the stage, and played repeatedly at one of the minor theaters, under the name of the lady. A character Clara can, when she pleases, support with unusual gaiety. Instance her splendid parties in Manchester Street, Manchester Square, where I have seen a coruscation of beauties assembled together that must have made great havoc in their time among the hearts of the young, the gay, and the generous. Like Tilda 14 most of her society, Clara has no idea of prudence, and hence to escape some pressing importunities, she levanted for a short time to Scotland, but has since, by the liberal advances of her present delusive, been enabled to quit the interested apprehensions of the Dunn family. The swaggering belle in the green pelisse yonder, on the pavé, is the celebrated courtesan, Mrs. St. P.F. D. of Curzon Street, Mayfair. How she acquired her present cognomen I know not, unless it was for her stopping accomplishment in the polite science of pugilism and modern patter, in both of which she is a finished proficient, as poor John D., a dashing savory chemist, can vouch for. On a certain night, she followed this unfaithful swain, placing herself, unknown to him, behind his carriage, to the house of a rival sister of Cytherea, Mrs. Syntache, and there enforced, by divers potent means, due submission to the laws of constancy and love. But as such compulsory measures were not in good taste with the protector's feelings, the contract was soon void, and the lady once more liberated to choose another and another swain, with a pension of £200 per annum and a well-furnished house into the bargain. She was formerly, and when first she came out, the cheer Amy of Tom B., who had, in spite of his science recently, in a short affair at Long's Hotel, not much the best of it. See plate. From him she bolted, and enlisted with an officer of the 19th Lancers. But not liking the House of Montague, she obtained the grant of a furlough, and has since indulged in a plurality of lovers, without much attention to size, age, persons, or professions. Of her talent in love affairs, we have given some specimens, and her courage in war can never be doubted after the formidable attack she recently made upon General Sir John D. E., returning through Hounslow from a review, from which rencontre she has obtained the appropriate appellation of the brazen ~15 Bellona. A pretty round face, dark hair, and fine bushy eyebrows are no mean attractions, independent of which the lady is always upon good terms with herself. The bell whip driving the cabriolet, with a chestnut horse and 4 white legs, is the Edgware Diana Mrs. S***H, at present engaged in a partnership affair, in the foreign line, with 2 citizens, Messrs. O. R. and S. The peepholes at the side of her machine imply more than mere curiosity, and are said to have been invented by General Ogle, for the use of the ladies when on active service. The beautiful little water lily in the chocolate-colored chariot, with a languishing blue eye and alabaster skin, is Mrs. Y, otherwise K***D**K of GRN Street, a great favorite with all who know her, from the elegance of her manners and the attractions of her person being perfect symmetry. At present, she is under the special protection of a city stave merchant, and has the reputation of being very sincere in her attachments. You must have been a desperate fellow in your time, crony, said I, among the belles of this class, or you could never have become so familiar with their history. It is the fashion, replied the veteran, to understand these matters. Among the bons vivants of the present day, a fellow would be suspected of chastity, or regarded as uncivilized, who could not run through the history of the reigning beauties of the times, descanting upon their various charms with poetical fervor, or illuminating, as he proceeds, with some choice anecdotes of the Paphian divinities, their protectors and propensities. And to do the fair Cythereans justice, they are not much behindhand with us in that respect, for the whole conversation of the sisterhood turns upon the figure, fortune, genius, or generosity of the admiring beau. To a young and ardent mind, just emerging from scholastic discipline, with feelings uncontaminated by ~16 fashionable levities, and a purse equal to all pleasurable purposes, a correct knowledge of the mysteries of the Cytherean principles of astronomy may be of the most essential consequence, not less in protecting his morals and health than in the preservation of life and fortune. 1/2 the duels, suicides, and fashionable bankruptcies spring from this polluted source. The stars of this order rise and fall in estimation, become fixed planets or meteors of the most enchanting brilliancy, in proportion not to the grace of modesty, or the fascination of personal beauty, but to the notoriety and number of their amours, and the peerless dignity of their plurality of lovers. Place the goddess of love on the pedestal of chastity, in the sacred recesses of the grove of health, veiled by virgin innocence, and robed in celestial purity, and who among the chameleon race of fashionable ways would incur the charge of vandalism, or turn aside to pay devotion at her shrine. But let the salacious deity of impurity mount the car of profligacy, and drive forth in all the glare of crimson and gold, and 1,000 devotees are ready to sacrifice their honor upon her profligate altars, or chain themselves to her chariot wheels as willing slaves to worship and adore. Let us take another turn up the drive, said I, for I am willing to confess myself much interested in this new system of astronomy, and perhaps we may discover a few more of the terrestrial planets, and observe the stars that move around their frail orbits. I must first make you acquainted with the signs of the Paphian zodiac, said Crony, for every one of these attractions have their peculiar and appropriate fashionable appellations. I have already introduced you to the Bang Bantam, Mrs. Bertram, the London Leda, Moll Raffles, the Spanish nun St. Marguerite, the Sparrowhawk, Augusta C***** E1, the Golden. 1 Val. I. Pippin Mrs. C. the White Crow, Clara W., the brazen Bellona, Mrs. Centefti, the Edgeware Diana, Mrs. S***th, and the water lily Cemeterian, L**y, all planets of the first order, carriage curiosities. Let us now proceed to make further observations. The jolly dame yonder in the phaeton, drawn by two fine bays, is called the White Doe, from her first dear protector. And although somewhat on the decline, she is yet an exhibit of no mean attraction, and a lady of fortune. Thanks to the liberality of an old hewer of stone, and the talismanic powers of the golden ball, deserted by her last swain since his marriage, she now reclines upon the velvet cushion of independence, enjoying in the Kilburn retreat her odium cum dignitate, secure from the rude winds of adversity, and in the occasional society of a few old friends. The lovely ties in the brown chariot, with a fine Roman countenance, dark hair, and sparkling eyes, is the favorite elect of a well-known Whig member. Here she passes by the name of the comic muse, the first letter of which will also answer for the leading initial of her theatrical cognomen. Her private history is well known to every son of old Etona who has taken a tootle over Windsor Bridge on a market day within the last 15 years, her parents being market gardeners in the neighborhood. And her two unmarried sisters, both fine girls, are equally celebrated with the Bath Orange women for the neatness of their dress and comeliness of their persons. There is a sprightliness and good humor about the comic muse that turns aside the shafts of ill nature, and had she made her selection more in accordance with propriety and her own age, she might have escaped our notice. But alas, said Crony, she forgets that. The rose's age is but a day its bloom, the pledge of its decay, sweet in scent, in color bright. It blooms at morn and fades at night. Tilda 18 tilde at this moment, a dashing little horsewoman trotted by in great style, followed by a servant in blue and gold livery. Her bust was perfection itself, but studded with the oddest pair of ogles in the world, and Crony assured me report said, her person was supported by the shortest pair of legs, for an adult in Christendom. That is the queen of the dandycettes, said my old friend, Sophia Selina, or as she is more generally denominated, galloping W***y, from a long pole, who settled the interest of 5,000 upon her for her natural life. She is since said to have married her groom, with, however, this prudent stipulation, that he is still to ride behind her in public and answer all demands in propria persona. She is constantly to be seen at all masquerades, and may be easily known by her utter contempt for the encumbrance of decent costume. How d'ye do? How d'ye do? Said a most elegant creature, stretching forth her delicate white kid-covered arm over the fenêtre of Lord HXXXXXXX*H's vis-a-vis. Bonjour, ma chère Amy, said old Crony, waving his hand and making one of his best bows in return. You are a happy dog, said I, old fellow, to be upon such pleasant terms with that divinity. No plebeian blood there, I should think, a peeress, I perceive, by the coronet on the panels. A pain cognized, o la femme et la melon, responded Crony, you shall hear. Among the ton she passes by the name of Vestina the Titan, from her being such a finished tactician in the campaigns of Venus. Her ordinary appellation is Mrs. Centefti. Whether this be a nom de guerre or a nom de terre, I shall not pretend to decide. If we admit that la chose est tout, et que la nom en I fate reine, the rest is of no consequence. It would be an intricate task to unravel the family web of our fashionable frail ones, although that of many frail fashionables stands high in heraldry. The lady in question, although in the Sire o' the Leaf, is yet in high request. Fat, fair, and 40, shall I say. Alas! That would have been more suitable 10 years since. But en import, she has the science to conceal the ravages of time, and is yet considered attractive. No one better understands the art of intrigue, and she is, moreover, a travelled dame, not deficient in intellect, full of anecdote. And as conjugation and declension go hand in hand with some men of taste, she has risen into notice when others usually decline. A sporting colonel is said to have formerly contributed largely to her comforts, and her tact in matters of business is notorious. About 200 per annum she derived from the stock exchange, and her present peerless protector no doubt subscribes liberally. To be brief, Laura has money in the funds, a splendid house, carriage, gives her grand parties, and lives proportionably expensive and elegant. Yet with all this she has taken care that the age of gold may succeed to the age of brass, that the retirement of her latter days may not be overclouded by the storms of adversity. She had 2 sisters, both gay, who formerly figured on the pavé, Sarah and Louisa, but of late they have disappeared, report says, to conjugate in private. "Turn your eyes towards the promenade," said Crony, "and observe that constellation of beauties, 3 in number, who move along Le Verde Gazon. They are denominated the red rose, the moss rose, and the cabbage rose. The first is Rose co**L***d, a dashing belle who has long figured in high life. Her first appearance was in company with Lord William F*** G******, LD, by whom she has a child living. From thence we trace her to the protection of another peer, Lord Tye, and from him gradually declining to the rich relative of a northern baronet, sportive little Jack R******, N, whose favorite lauda finum she continued for some time. But as the law engrossed rather too much of her protector's affairs, so the fair engrossed rather too much of the law. Whether she has yet given up ~20 practice in the King's Bench I cannot determine, but her appearance here signifies that she will accept a fee from any side. Rose has long since lost every tint of the maiden's blush, and is now in the full blow of her beauty and maturity, but certainly not without considerable personal attractions. With some her nom de guerre is Rosa Longa, and a wag of the day says that Rose is a beauty in spite of her teeth. The Moss Rose has recently changed her cognomen with her residence, and is now Mrs. F** of Beaumont Street. She was never esteemed a planet, and may be now said to have sunk into a star of the second order, a little twinkling light, useful to assist elderly gentlemen in finding their way to the Paphian temple. The cabbage rose is one of your vulgar beauties, ripe as a peach, and rich in countenance as the ruby. If she has never figured away with the peerage, she has yet the credit of being entitled to 3 balls on her coronet, and an old uncle to support them. She has lately taken a snug box in Park Place, Regent's Park, and lives in very good style. The belle in the brown chariot, grey horses, and blue liveries is now the lady of a baronet, and one of 3 graceless graces, the Elkses, who, because their father kept a livery stable, must needs all go to rack. She has a large family living by Mr. V**L**B**S, whom she left for the honor of her present connection. That she is married to the baronet, there is no doubt, and it is but justice to add, she is one among the many instances of such compromises in fashionable life who are admitted into society upon sufferance, and falls into the class of demi-respectables. Among the park beaux, she is known by the appellation of the doldrums. Her 2 sisters have been missing some time, and it is said are now rusticating in Paris. My friend Eglantine had evidently fled away with the White Crow, and the fashionables were rapidly decreasing in the drive, when Crony, whose scent of ~21 dinner hour is as staunch as that of an old pointer at game, gave evident symptoms of his inclination to masticate. We must take another opportunity to finish our lecture on the principles of Cytherean astronomy, said the old beau, for as yet we are not half through the list of constellations. I have a great desire to introduce you to Harriet Wilson and her sisters, whose true history will prove very entertaining, particularly as the fair writer has altogether omitted the genuine anecdotes of herself and family in her recently published memoirs. At dinner, we were joined by Horace Eglantine and Bob Transit, from the first of whom we learned that a grand fancy ball was to take place at the Argyle Rooms in the course of the ensuing week, under the immediate direction of 4 fashionable impures, and at the expense of General Trinket, a broad-shouldered Milesian, who, having made a considerable sum by the commissariat service, had returned home to spend his peninsular pennies among the Paphian dames of the metropolis. For this entertainment we resolved to obtain tickets, and as the ci-devant Lady H***E was to be patroness, Crony assured us there would be no difficulty in that respect, added to which, he there promised to finish his sketches of the Cytherean beauties of the metropolis, and afford my friend Transit an opportunity of sketching certain portraits both of Paphians and their paramours. The wake, or